I wanted to ask you about Joe and Ben Weider, both of them, I guess, because I wanted to ask you, did you have a close relationship with them?
With Joe, not Ben.
So Joe is the main owner, right?
The way they worked it, when they, as you know, Ben was the younger brother of Joe.
Okay. So I meant that.
It's the way they worked it out. Joe controlled the Weider company, the magazines, the food supplements, and all that, whereas Ben controlled the International Federation of Bodybuilders, and they kind of didn't step on each other. They supported each other, obviously, but in other words, Ben had complete control of the IFBB. Joe had control of the Weider Empire, magazines, equipment, food supplements, and that's the way they divided it up like that. Yeah. And Joe, basically, Ben worked out of Canada, and Joe was in, of course, first New Jersey. Well, actually, he started out in Canada, then he went to New Jersey, and then eventually to Woodland Hills, California. Yeah.
Were you friends with Joe? Because Joe,
I knew him very well, Joe. Yeah.
What was his personality like? Because everybody who talks about him didn't really know him that well, and I assume you probably know him the best out of anyone in bodybuilding right now, other than the head.
I knew Joe very well. I met him when I was 16 years old when I competed in the contest in New York. Yeah, I didn't talk to him at that time, but that's when I met him. Of course, I got to know him a lot more when I started working for the magazines. But the thing is, I always tell people that Joe's love of bodybuilding was real. In other words, he was a businessman. He wanted to make money, but he would get, the only way I can describe his enthusiasm, it was like a little 5-year-old kid getting a toy. Like he'd call me, he'd say, I used to imitate him. He'd go like this. He'd say, Jerry, let me show you this new guy. I want to show you the photos. Tell me what you think of him. He'd take me in the photo room, and they'd have these, like these things where you could put the photo down on a light behind it and stuff like that. He said, look at this guy. Look at the arm development of this guy. What do you think, Jerry? What do you think? You think this guy could be a top guy? I mean, and he would be just so into. And I used to look at him and say, my God, he really loves bodybuilding, this guy. He really loves it, And I think Joe was, they paint him as this cold-hearted businessman and stuff. And yeah, money was his prime motivation. There's no doubt about it. But Joe started out very, very poor in Canada. He was like literally had nothing. I mean, he built up, everything was self-made by him. And there's an old saying, once you're poor, your brain has a part of it that stays poor. So Joe's thing was always to try and get the best deal over everybody he dealt with in a business sense. In other words, when he worked with writers like me, he tried to pay them as little as possible to get the best articles. When he was dealing with a bodybuilder, instead of giving him money, he'd say, I'll give you an ad in the magazine, or I'll put you on the cover. I was always, and he delighted in feeling that, he got over somebody like that. This is like an ego thing to him. Because remember, Joe was sensitive about his lack of education. He didn't go very far in school. In fact, one time he came up to me, he says, Jerry, you know what I'm going to do for muscle and fitness? I said, what? I'm going to hire a bunch of these academic guys. I'm going to bring a whole bunch of PhDs and scientists. I said, why is that, Joe? He says, I want to give more prestige to the magazines because, these guys have the scientific He said, I want a far-ranging, I want more readers a week, So he does that. He starts, getting these scientists. These are real PhDs. Some of them I knew right off the bat. They were quite famous. Exercise physiology. And then I remember going up there, I ran into one of his copy editors. And I said, her name was Joe Ellen, if I remember. I said, Joe Ellen, how's it going with those PhD articles, that Joe? And she was, oh, Jerry, please don't ask. I said, what do you mean? She says, I have to rewrite those articles from top to bottom. I said, why? She says, these guys write like they're writing for a medical, just like we were talking about earlier. She says, they're totally indecipherable. Everything is in passive tense. They don't know how to write for the public at all. They have zero. I said, but Joel, these are brilliant guys. They said, they're brilliant. Oh, yeah, their information is tremendous, but they don't know how to impart it to the public. They have no skills. I literally have to write from top to bottom. Now, I never mentioned that to Joe, but I got a laugh out of it because Joe thought all he did is put extra work for his copy editor.